6th of August 2017, right here at the Maha Temple. I've seen people who I know for many years, and some who I have not known for so long. The title of my talk today is The Life and Times of Marcus Garvey Applied Today. And before I go into that subject, I want to state that I was born and bred in Jamaica and came here to study as a civil engineer and government scholar to this country in the early 70s. I did civil engineering, graduated. In Jamaica, before I came here, I went to Kingston Technical High School, which is at 82 Hanover Street, Central Kingston, where my physics teacher was Marcus Garvey Jr., the first son of Marcus Garvey, and his second wife, Amy Garvey. The first wife is Amy Ashwood Garvey, who is my mother's cousin. She wasn't just my mother's cousin, but we were also good friends. And I remember growing up in Jamaica, my mother telling me how she loved Miss Amy and how Miss Amy used to come to the home in Manchester to look for her mother, which is my grandmother. And in fact, both of them were in New York together in the US also, and in Panama. My involvement with the PACN, there used to be a shop when I was studying here in the 70s called Grassroots on Goldberg Road, Ladbroke Road, West London.
61.
Right. And that's where 61, as in 61 Wildman Street, Jamaica Success Club. That became famous to me. And there I met people who were there, and they had that paper, that Grassroots paper, etc. And I used to visit there and buy books and reason and that type of thing. But coming from Jamaica, I was already involved politically as a Pan-Africanist, because whilst going to Kingston Technical High School, Marcus Garvey Jr., myself and others, Elder Cyril Stewart, Elder Thomas and others, we formed a political party in 1968. This is the era of what's called Black Power, called the African Nationalist Union, the ANU. And this was a successor to his father's party, which was the People's Political Party, which was founded in 1929, which was the first party in the Caribbean, modern political party, 1929. Marcus Garvey founded the People's Political Party. Later on, in the run-up to the 1962 election, and also independence, as they call it, political independence, of which today is supposed to be. And there's a significance why I'm wearing these colors, and of course, Marcus Garvey's picture and so on, which I'll explain, because they are all intertwined. We had a paper called The Black Man, which was also the paper that his father had originally, and so when we came with the paper for our organization, the African Nationalist Union, we called it The Black Man. It was in that paper that I wrote my first political article, which is African Unity in the Caribbean. And I still have that article, which I published because I'm also a publisher in terms of magazines, etc., as well as a journalist. And I'll publish this article sometime in the future, and you people and others will certainly get to read and have a copy of what I wrote whilst going to Kingston Technical and being a member of the African Nationalist Union. African Unity in the Caribbean. So when I came here, I was fully conversant because on weekends, on Saturdays, Marcus Garvey Jr. and myself and a brother called Stucky Smith from Franklinton and others, we used to go all over Jamaica and set the black man paper. Of course, this was a time in Jamaica where the youth Shearer regime, JP, had banned all black power books, as they called it. Stokely Carmichael and Charles Lee Hamilton's Black Power book, H. Rap Brown's book, Die and Die, because I don't use that word, you know. And look how white the Black Power gonna get your mother. Anything to do that even the book Black Beauty was said to be banned. So Malcolm X, because that was what triggered me to get politically involved, you know, that of course was banned. If you were found with it, you would be locked up. Straight. Marcus Garvey Jr., in fact, was arrested by the Youth regime in Jamaica when he wanted to start to have a march out by 3 Mile, was arrested. He was not beaten by the police, not because they didn't want to beat him, but they realized that for the Jamaican police, the Jamaican so-called state, to beat the son of Marcus Garvey would be suicidal. He was arrested, locked up at Matilda's Corner police station. His mother, Amy Garvey, and a lawyer friend of his, Seymour Stewart, you know, to secure his release. But some of the other members who were on the march were beaten mercilessly. In fact, one of the policemen wanted to beat Marcus Garvey Jr., raise his battle, and the guy who was in charge, I think his name was Stevenson, looked at his son and said, no, no, not him, not him. Because he realized, can you imagine the son of Jamaica's first national hero, you know, lip service, PNP and GLP, being beaten by the Jamaican police. And that type of thing. Here, as I said, speaking about the PACM, at Head Start, which is 25 West Wheel Road, I used to do some lectures there on Sundays. Meetings used to be kept there on Sundays. And when I met Pepper Kai and others there, I came to the bookshop, knew about it, and was asked to speak there, and I did that several times. I remember Brother Gobin, who used to speak there too. I remember there's Sister Kai. She was one of those who used to be in the audience. She's now with Alke Bulan, but she's one of them. There's another brother, I think his name is Gobi, short brother. He was also a person who used to come there. Femi Biko used to come there also and listen to me and others speak on a Sunday. The life and times of Marcus Garvey apply today, because one of the problems that besets African people worldwide is that sometimes we have meetings, and the meetings only deal with the past but doesn't connect with what is happening now. No, I am not against history, what happened in the past, what happened in Kemet, so-called Egypt, what happened in Benin, bronze, our various contributions, because we were the first civilizers on planet Earth, first civilizations, and so on. Zimbabwe, great stone building, etc. The pyramids, they are the authors of mathematics, physics, chemistry, and chemistry is coming from Kemet, etc. But found out, and some others have found out, is that sometimes when we have meetings talking about what has happened in the past, it doesn't connect with what is happening now. And this is why we find a lot of our youths, which we need them to be at meetings like this. Sometimes they come and you don't see them again and they're saying, yes, they're talking about this and that, what happened in the past, but we are living right now and we are not hearing any solutions about the problems that we face now, today. And they are right, because my idea and practice is that the past, the present, and the future are inextricably linked. We must study the past, because by studying the past, we'll know why we are in the present situation that we are in. And we'll be able to avoid the mistakes of the past. And what we do in the present determines the future. Because it is what we do today that makes tomorrow. We are not passive people. Whatever we do, any action, brings forth what happens for the future. But it is always important to know what has happened in the past so that we can learn constructively. And when I say learn constructively, in the past there are good things and bad things. And I'm not one of these people who have a false and lying view of our African past. Some of it was good, glorious, but some of it was bad. So we must deal with a situation whereby we honestly, because truth is the only thing that can set us free, we must honestly say what in our past was good, what in our past was bad, and learn the lessons from that and move forward. Marcus Garvey. Today they say that they are celebrating 55 years of Jamaica's political independence. This cap, red, black, and green. In 1962, schools in Jamaica, like the primary schools, all over the island of 14 parishes, were asked that 2 students, a boy and a girl, should represent their school in the march in Kingston. The march would take us downtown Kingston by parade and end up at the new National Stadium, which has a capacity of about 35,000. That's out by Mountain View near to Swallowfield. I was the representative, the male boy representative for my school then in Jamaica at the time. That's Friendship Government School, St. John's Road, Spanish Town. My father was the headmaster, my mother the deputy head. And the sister who was the female representative was Irma Crosgate. And she's in this country. You know, she came here sometime in the 60s and so on. And from what I gather, she grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist family, a Star and Seventh-day Adventist. So I was involved in terms of that. I remember that Monday when the British flag was lowered, the Jamaican flag, the red, black, and green went up, and we were told that we were free, we were independent. And there was a lot of hope and optimism by the vast majority of our people, because who doesn't like freedom? But alas, it was essentially all that big calm. Marcus Garvey's lessons, life and times of life today. In Marcus Garvey's time, when he founded the first political party in 1929, the People's Political Party, and he was a councillor for the Almantown division also and so on. The vast majority of the people of Jamaica who are Africans, about 95%, did not have the vote. There was no universal adult suffrage. The only people who could vote were people who had a lot of property, and that was a code meaning the English, European, mainly, you know, who were able to vote at that time. Marcus Garvey passed away on the 10th of June, Monday the 10th of June, 1940, at 53 Talbot Road in West London. His office was at 2 Bowman Crescent nearby. When he passed away, we still hadn't won universal adult suffrage, even though he and others were fighting for that. Universal adult suffrage was only won in 1944, 4 years after Marcus's passing. Now, one of the things that Marcus Garvey talks about is the role of propaganda. And these books here, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, this is my #1 Bible. And Bible simply means book. Garvey and Garveyism, written by his second wife, who is Marcus Garvey Jr., my physics teacher and friend's mother. I knew her personally because he and I were friends, and we produced the magazine we used to print then at the home because she, Marcus Jr. and his mother lived at the same place in Mona. So I got to know her well, and she taught me a lot about the practice and ideology of her husband. Direct. Race First, another Bible, my brother Tony Martin, my friend from Trinidad, who passed away physically a few years ago, which is the official book of the UNIA and ACA, which explains Marcus Garvey's UNIA and ACA. This is the official book, no other book, that explains the UNIA and ACA. Another Bible of mine is The Destruction of Black Civilization. Every African should also have this, because this gives a history of the African race. Before the Europeans, before the Arabs, before the Hyksos, who were the first set of Asian invaders of our mother continent. Okay, Chancellor Williams. This is a book, Marcus Garvey, Hero, by Brother Tony Martin, written to be used in primary schools and others. Jamaica, and of course, the course of African philosophy, which consists of secret lessons that Marcus Garvey gave to his young and trusted followers in Canada, etc. The Honorable Charles James from Antigua, who got the highest marks and so on, was a man who I met personally here. PACM had him here. I remember meeting him in Brixton. Remember Pepperkai by the Brixton Recreation Center. And so on. So these books are books that any African must promote and must study, because it is important to keep in touch and to be able to impart what we should do to others who are in need of education. Because, as Marcus Garvey said, education is a medium by which we transmit our values, etc. In 1962, before 1962, one of the lessons that we must learn, that Marcus Garvey showed us that we should organize politically, 1929, the People's Political Party. Before that, when he was in the States, and this was by the racist J. Edgar Hoover and others, there wasn't any FBI at the time yet. He worked for the law department, but the FBI was not established yet. You can check that. But what alarmed the racists in the States was that before, when he went there in 1960, he was organizing our people in terms of economics, our own factories, making our own dolls, so to get rid of that self-hating syndrome, you know, from the infant stages, etc., and organizing like that. But when Marcus Garvey decided that the time now was right to move politically, which was that in the States, the two biggest parties, as we know, are the Democrats and the Republicans. Marcus Garvey said we should organize politically so that anyone wanting our votes, there would have to be a negotiation. Because before that, our people just voted and got nothing in return, whether Republican or Democrat. As Malcolm X said, there's no difference between a Democrat and a Republican where African people are concerned. Marcus Garvey was organizing African people in one block in the States to deal politically with our situation, to be able to influence economics and other things. And this was a danger to the racist power structure in the States, because they saw that this man wasn't only talking about economic self-reliance, but was also talking about political organization, because we cannot transform and redeem ourselves if politics and economics are not intertwined. And also he's correctly called the father of African theology, because he impressed on our people that whenever we worship, whether it's a religious thing, spiritual thing, and there's a difference between spirituality and religion, you know, religious matters, that our conception of the Creator must be African. In the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, he said for the Chinese, for the so-called yellow people, the Creator looks yellow to them, and for other races, the same thing. But we have a situation as African people whereby the Creator looks like the very enemy, the blonde, blue-eyed devil, who enslaved us. Now, no matter how much money you have, no matter how you think you're economically powerful, no matter how you think you're politically organized, if you worship as your Creator and bow down as your Creator someone who looks like the enemy was enslaved our ancestors and has kept us down, we're not achieving anything at all. Because we cannot be free as a people and worship the deities or the Creator of our enemies. We have to worship and recognize, whether it's religiously, spiritually, things that come from our own African reality in terms of looks and everything else. And this is why Marcus Garvey also made the UNIA and ACL a non-religious organization, because there were some people in the organization, some of them who were Muslims, wanted it to become Islamic. There were some who were Christians who wanted it to become Christian. Now, let us remember, Marcus Garvey grew up in a Jamaica, like myself, British colonial system, where Christianity was forced on us and that type of thing. But he skillfully used, looking the philosophy and opinions, and in the course of African philosophy, where he shows that we must worship the Creator through our own spectacles. And when I say our own spectacles, we are not talking about Haile Selassie, because this is another thing when I speak to brethren who are and sisters who are Rastafari, they get vexed. But I am not interested in people who are vexed. I'm here to speak the truth. Marcus Garvey at no time worship Haile Selassie as any god or any creator. No man, no woman. Neither do I. And when he quoted from the Psalms about, you know, that thing about princes coming out and Ethiopia, and remember Ethiopia referred to the entire continent, not the current state that we have now, which was at one time known as Abyssinia. A part of it was known as Axum, etc. I mean, that's coming from a Greek word, land of the birthplaces. So the entire continent was also known as Ethiopia. So when Marcus Garvey talked about Ethiopia and in our anthem and so on, it's the entire continent. It's the entire continent. And I always have to tell those Rastafarians, without any bitterness or so on, say, listen, we are not here to bow to Haile Selassie. You want to have your religion. I know that I was born and bred in Jamaica. Pinnacle, Leonard Owen was the first Rastaman, and so on. Pinnacle, I am from Spanish Town, that's where I was born. Pinnacle is by Sligoville, nearby. Pinnacle is a place that I know personally, and so on. His daughter, Kathy, she and I are in touch for many years now. She's in Florida, in the US, and so on. But it must be said, because sometimes when we have meetings and so on, some people, to make people feel good, say, oh, Selassie and so on. So we are not against Haile Selassie as Marcus Garvey people. But what we are saying is that we do not worship any man or woman as any creator. That Haile Selassie is another African head of state, was just like any other African, Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, Julius Nyerere, etc. And this quote about it, he was talking about Selassie, has nothing to do with that. He was just quoting from the Psalms because the society that we grew up in, he had to use what people were accustomed to let them have an idea that, see, even in the so-called Christian Bible, they have to be talking about our mother continent, etc. and so on. In 1962, there was another Garvey party, the lawyer Millard Johnson. Now, Millard Johnson is a man who I knew personally because of Marcus Garvey Jr. Because we used to have meetings opposite the Jamaica Success Club at Wildman Street, a place called Mutual Cooperative Hall in the 60s. Millard Johnson formed the People's Political Party to continue the works of Marcus Garvey. This was before the 1962 election, etc. And what the PNP, led by Norman Manley, who was an enemy of Marcus Garvey, and his cousin, Bustamante, who was also an enemy of Marcus Garvey, what they did was that they combined to fight against, to destroy the People's Political Party. They said that it was racist, this thing about black man party and that type of thing. So both of them were anti-African combined. Part of that included that in the negotiations with the British, because it was really a transfer from colonialism to neo-colonialism. That's why I say it was a con. You're supposed to be talks. The PNP, led by Norman Manley, the lawyer, and he was a lawyer for the rich people, the capitalists, even though he was a, what is called a Fabian socialist. And Bustamante, his cousin. And incidentally, these two people, Norman Manley and Alexander Bustamante, are people who I knew personally. When I say personally, not in terms of speaking to, but I used to see these people at close distance. So I didn't hear about these people. These are people who, Edward Seaga, people like Dudley Thompson. Dudley Thompson and my father were in the same class at Michael Teachers College. They were best friends then. You know, they were best friends. Is that the PNP and GLP combined and said that in the negotiations with the British regime, no other party in Jamaica would be included in these negotiations. Because they knew that if Millard Johnson's People's Political Party was involved in the negotiations, that the negotiations would take a different turn, because Millard Johnson's party, being a Garvey party, being an Africanist party, would have dealt with the African agenda. And they were not for that. Was excluded. In fact, the only election that Marcus Garvey Jr. voted in Jamaica was that 1962 election for the People's Political Party. There's a saying in Jamaica that the symbols of the PNP and the GLP, because what they did that they divided the people politically, PNP and GLP, and they divided them along trade union terms too. Bustamante, the BITU, notice it's called the Bustamante. The bank account was in his name. Yeah. On Duke Street there, the bank account. So it is Bustamante, it's not the workers, but, you know, Bustamante, the BITU. It's his personal thing, his account. And of course the PNP with their NWU, right? So they divided people politically and also along trade union lines. Before, the people were well together as Africans with the People's Political Party. So if they didn't come with that divide and rule tactic, when universal adult suffrage came in 1944, there would have been much improvement in terms of having a united people. But we have seen the havoc, the violence, the deaths that have occurred in Jamaica because of this vicious PNP-GLP division, whereby you have, in every family, you have serious disputes within families. Because some of your own family, every family in Jamaica almost is like that. Some people in our family, because you know, some are PNP, some are GLP. When we talk about the national heroes of Jamaica, because Bustamante and Norman Manley are not heroes, because they divided the people. They're talking about, yes, they are not heroes. In fact, I only talk about 4 heroes. Not even George William Gordon, I'll tell you why. He was a martyr. Because he was not involved with what Paul Bogle actually was doing. Yes, they had relations and so on, but Paul Bogle, who said, remember your color and cleave to the black, the man from Stony God, the Baptist deacon. Daddy Sam Sharp, the 1831, who started to told our people, do no more work. And then that in St. James spread island-wide and so on. And when he was captured, he said he would rather hang on yonder tree rather than live as a slave, the hero. So 2 as a hero, Daddy Sam Sharp, Marcus Garvey, the first one, hero. Nana, because I don't say nanny. Nanny is an English word. It's Nana. N-A-N-A, Nana, Akan. And it's also a royal title, Akan Ashanti. And incidentally, I am part Akan by descent, because on my mother's side, St. Amy Ashwood Garvey, if you come, our people are from Juaben in Akan land, J-U-A-B-E-N, Juaben. story of her ancestor. She was a princess and she was, again, internal wars, and she was captured and brought as a little girl to Jamaica. And how I know this from I was a child, my mother taught me this because she was taught this by her mother and grandmother. So I'm fortunate where that is concerned. On my father's side, my mother's, my grandmother, his mother is, her name is Ada, not Ada, A-A, Ada, the Igbo name, and it means the first daughter. She was the first daughter. So we have a lot of our African cultural retentions in Jamaica, but because people are not aware, a lot of times we have some people in Jamaica, those of you who are from Jamaica know this. A lot of times you hear you have some people, we call them, and this is a man who called Chuku. But Chuku is from that Igbo word, meaning the creator, but a lot of our people don't know. And next word, sometimes they call a man and a woman in Jamaica, they call them Dudu. Dudu means black. We have another term sometimes, we always call a elder, we say, one Baba, Baba Yoruba, father. So we have all of these things. Nago said in St. Catherine, coming from an Igbo and from the Yoruba. So we have a lot of these things. Miss Lou, she did a lot of important things where this is concerned. You notice that far ranging in what I'm talking about, because it's many things that are involved in our struggle as African people. Every area of life is affected because we were affected in every area of life, whether it's sports, religion, politics, whatever. So no area of life is exempt from what we have to do as African people. In 1962, the colors, the black color, represented Norman Manley again and Buster Manley. Black represented hardship, but not just hardship now, and hardship for the future. So they were guaranteeing hardship for people. Not just now, but for the future. Again, it is because of the African trust in Jamaica. You know, they have always tried to quell our voices and so on. But African people in every generation have always fought against this miseducation and that type of thing. I said, no, this is wrong, this is racist. That anything black is bad. So now they were forced to say, well, it means strength and that type of thing. So, in every stage of our lives, we face the constant racism. Today, about 2 weeks ago, they had a service by the Central Hall, Methodist Hall, by Westminster, saying that they are celebrating Jamaica's independence. Now I know the High Commissioner and the Deputy and the staff and so on, and they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But when I went to observe and so on, but when you look at the church service, the seeing Jesus Christ business, the same Jesus Christ in Christianity which was forced on our people. All religions, our spirituality were outlawed. Obviously, it's a crime to this day. Just like how for many, many years, voodoo, the crime in Haiti, it was just recently that it was recognized. To say the overture, a lot of you who don't know will say, oh, to say, but he was a serious Roman Catholic. He was against voodoo. He was against the first leader of the Haitian Revolution movement, who was an African from Jamaica. To say the overture, and that was why he was captured too. He was trusting, as Dr. Joseph Ben-Yochanan said, to say the overture was so Frenchified. One of his generals, Moise, I think M-O-I-C, I think, he had executed because Moise had some French executed. And to appease the French who had been murdering our people, to say the overture, had this brilliant African general in Haiti executed. And you see what Napoleon did to him? When Napoleon was sending his son-in-law, de Klerk, to the States, to Haiti, one of his instructions were that any, as Marcus Garvey JNR was the one who told me that also, that any French woman who used to have sex with African men, that they were to be rounded up. Because he was an arch racist. For me, remember that the man who really led Haiti to independence was Dessalines. Not to say in the overture, it was Dessalines. Dessalines and the African brother from Grenada, Henry Christophe, had warned to the overture, don't go to this meeting, it's a trap. But he was so Frenchified still that he went and was kidnapped, and Dessalines led the Africans of Haiti to independence, declaring it the 1st of January 1804. I've written an account of that, the history of Haiti before and after, and so on. And let me just say, the Jakes, Marcus Garvey's second wife, Amy Jakes Garvey, is because on her father's side, Jakes, they were from Haiti. That's where the Jakes is from. Today as we speak, applying the lessons of Marcus Garvey for today, Haiti is still in subjugation. They got rid of Aristide, overthrew him, put in their puppets. The Clintons, there's a book called Clinton Cash, and there's a documentary too, that shows how they use the UN as a front because it would be too obvious for the American troops to go in. As remember, there was a time for Haiti was occupied by the Marines for about 19 years. Mm-hmm. And what has happened is that Haiti, as I speak here right now, still needs to be freed. And as Marcus Garvey said, we have to organize nationally and internationally, locally, in our communities, and we have to relate with each other. We cannot ignore the plight of our African people in Haiti. They have suffered a lot. Centuries, people talk about an embargo and ban, sanctions on Cuba. The first island in the Caribbean to suffer that was Haiti. Not Cuba with Fidel Castro. Because when the Africans in Haiti won in 1804 with Dessalines, all the European nations, because the French were defeated, the Spanish were defeated, the English were defeated, etc. Haiti was the richest colony overall, even more than Jamaica, which was why the English wanted it. More fertile, more land, etc. Sugar was king, and so on. You know. So what we have is that our people in Haiti, we must work with them and assist our people in Haiti. Our people in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe is still under sanctions because President Mugabe and ZANU-PF have done the Marcus Garvey thing of reclaiming our African land for our people. We have Clear Shot and Tony Blair when they came in 1997. Totally disregarded the agreement, the Lancaster House thing with Thatcher and ZANU-PF, President Mugabe and so on, that our land should, you know, be returned to us and so on. Clear Shot said that she's of an Irish extraction and her people suffered and so on, and she doesn't care about that. Tony Blair the same thing. And because ZANU-PF, led by President Mugabe, said, no, no, no. These are the terms of the thing, that our land is supposed to come to us. Cecil Road and others murdered our ancestors to get this land. Because the people in Zimbabwe were not fighting for the vote, like how the ANC miseducated the people to be fighting for the vote in South Africa. What is the use of a vote if you don't own and control your land? As we speak, about 90% of the land in South Africa, Zambia, is still owned by the European colonists. Yeah. Nelson Mandela was a sellout. I've always said this for years.
Not true, not true.
That's a fact. A lot of our people have been miseducated about it. That sellout, I have never respected him. Because what people must understand is that the ANC, when it started, it was founded in 1912. Marcus Garvey's organization was founded on the 20th of July 1914 at 32 Charles Street, Central Kingston, near to Kingston Technical High School, where I went to. One of the founding members was my mother's cousin, Amy Ashwood Garvey. Right? 32 Charles Street, and so on. Is that the ANC, which started in 1912, had some of the most, in fact, in Africa, the UNIA and ACL had the most branches there. Just like in Cuba, Cuba had the most amount of UNIA and ACL in the Caribbean. And in the areas where the British were colonizers and so on, Trinidad had more UNIA and ACL branches than Jamaica. I mentioned that President General James was from Antigua. So our organization, as Africans, UNIA and ACL, is international in terms of, for us to solve our problems, we have to work together nationally and internationally.
Marisho in Grenada. Marisho in Grenada.
Yes, yes. Marisho in Grenada, yes. Buzz Butler in Trinidad. We have to work internationally, and this was why Marcus Garvey's organization was non-religious and it was international, because you know that once you bring in any religious denomination into the mix, it's a recipe for division and for distraction. Your only creator must be Africa and be in Africa. Your only interest, prime interest, which must trump, in the era of Donald Trump, everything else is that our race first, comes first. In other words, our racial interest must come first. And this is nothing peculiar. Every other race of people, whether they're Chinese, Arab, Indians, European, they always put their race first. It is only some of our people are stupid. We were talking about matters affecting us, and then they come up with, but you know, I have an English friend, I have a European friend. And so many times our people, because of their so-called individual friendships, sell out the interests of their own race. Well, I can say that my only true, genuine friends are my same African brothers and sisters who we are of the same mindset, and I say that without apology. Because, as Marcus Garvey said, a race without authority and power is a race without respect. And we cannot depend on other races for our salvation, because it's about self-reliance. Only we can free ourselves. And that was why he said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Bob Marley put it to music. Peter Tosh, my favorite whaler, he's the most revolutionary of the whalers. That album, Equal Rights and Justice, that track called African, it's the Marcus Garvey theme. No matter where you come from, no matter where you're born. He mentions places in this country, whether Trinidad, wherever. Once you have the African features, you're African. One of the things that we have to instill in our people who are miseducated is their reluctance to call themselves what they are, that is being African. You know, many times people who know me, they said, I meet them, what's your name? Mandingo. Yeah, but what is your real name? It's a common thing, it doesn't just happen with me, auntie. Once you tell a lot of our people, they ask your name and you give them your African name. Yeah. They say, yeah man, but what is your real name? What your mother and father? I say, listen, I am not following this European slave mentality business. You have asked them my name, I am an African. If an Indian tells you that the name is Singh, you don't have any problems with it. If an Arab tells you that his name is Hussein or what, you don't have any problems with it. If a European, you know, an English person tells you that the name is Fish or Fletcher, you don't have any problem with it. But when African people give you their African names, because we know how these names came about, because let us remember, our languages were outlawed. If we were found speaking our languages in the days of chattel enslavement, we were killed. It's not a joke thing. Because they know that language is also a weapon of resistance. And so a lot of our people today are still miseducated about their names. They are ashamed of saying that they are African. They'll tell you that they are black, they are Afro-Caribbean, and I mean Afro is a hairstyle. They'll tell you that they are African-American, hyphenation. I know what hyphenation. African, simple. Growing up in Jamaica, and still is, the Chinese. Don't speak one word of Chinese. But they're proud to tell you that they are Chinese, and Africans in Jamaica call them Chinese because they are Chinese. Indians, same thing. Not a problem. But you're the vast majority in Jamaica, for example. And you say you're African. No, 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 no. Some of them will tell you, oh, we ancestors came from there, but we're not African, we are Jamaican. Being Jamaican is just a nationality. I have a cousin. He has 3 nationalities. He has Jamaican nationality, he has British nationality, and he has USA nationality. But he's still the same African. Because you cannot change your race. You can change your job, you can change your profession, you can change your religion, you can change your partner, you can change so many things. But once you're born African, you will always remain African. And, you know, I like the reasoning part, to come into a close so that we can have some reasoning and so on, is that I'm wearing this, but this is only recognition that this is just a partial part of the victory. Because the the Marcus Garvey, the full implementation, still has to be done. First of all, Jamaica must become a republic. You can't say that we are free and independent. And our head of state is the head of state coming from the very people who committed the greatest genocide against the African race. The British Empire was the biggest empire in history. Not the Roman Empire, never. The biggest empire in history was the British Empire. Ruled over most of the world's population. To do that, you have to do that by murdering people. They are the original terrorists. They like to talk people about terror. They are the biggest terrorists, the British imperialists. And we have some of our people being proud that they have OB and MB. I salute Gail, Howard Gail, for refusing, Benjamin Zephaniah for refusing these racist things. I mean, that's equivalent to a Jew, a Semitic Jew, accepted an Adolf Hitler award. That is what it means. And about being knighted. No self-respecting Jew would ever accept any Adolf Hitler award. But we have some of our African people boasting how they have OB and MB. The very empire that murdered and enslaved, committed the biggest genocide, Holocaust in history. No other race of people have suffered what we have suffered. And let us remember, it's not just Arabs who have been racist against us. It's not just Europeans who have been racist against us. As Marcus Garvey Jr. truly said in applying the lesson of the Father, both in Jamaica and the rest of the world, there's a racist pyramid structure whereby every other race is on top and we as Africans are at the bottom. Check it. When you check in their school system, in their movies, I remember going to school in Jamaica, doing history. I would see things about Indian civilization and about great Indians. I would see things about Arabs, every other race. Whenever it comes on to being African, either not mentioned or it's backward, savage, and we should be glad that our ancestors were enslaved. In Jamaica, right now as I stand, we still do not have Marcus Garvey's Philosophy and Opinions as the textbook in the school system. Both PNP and GLP have said that they will, but they have not. Deliberately. Because they know that ideas, because if we have this kind of book, I mean, some people, no matter what, I mean, some people, no matter how you try with them, they will not change. But some people will, are receptive. They know that if they have the philosophy and opinions in the school system in Jamaica, it will bring about a certain psychological change, and they don't want that. So it's no wonder why Jamaica is beset by people who bleach their skin. It's still around all over the African world. It's no wonder that people in Jamaica, Africans in Jamaica, still view and say, oh, you're black and ugly, or your features and your nose, and you don't have good hair, and spend billions, millions on wigs and other people's hair. Self-hate. Yes, they have degrees and they have cars and they have big houses and so on. But they are full of self-hatred. And because they are full of this self-hate, as a people we are not able to move forward because these things hold us back. Because whenever they see people who look like themselves, they see an image, a reflection of what they hate and what they are trying to run away from. We had the other day Venus, no, it's Serena. You know, there was on social media something about she was saying that African men are no good, you remember?
I saw that.
So, right, it was quite some, yes, it was quite some time ago, you know, went around. And then, yes, and what happened is that she issued a denial saying she didn't say that and so on. But who has she gotten pregnant from? Okay, you didn't say that and so on. Because this is another problem that Marcus Garvey warned us about. There are some people in our race who believe that the solution for us is keep pushing a positive line and a message of hope and not a message of despair. Because my brother, what you have said is a message of despair. We will not achieve victory and success by thinking that we have not achieved. To win any battle, we have to have the confidence that we can win.
We have one.
Exactly, because if you don't have that, you have lost. You have given up. And this is why I quoted Marcus Garvey in terms of confidence. I know what is arrayed against us. I'm fully aware. Totally aware. But I am not dazzled by it, and I am not intimidated by it, because again, as Marcus Garvey said, we are the masters and mistresses of our destiny, and it is for us to do what we have to do. Marcus Garvey said we must not depend on the Creator. You know what I mean? Marcus Garvey said we must not depend on the Creator to solve our problems and to do things for us. Because the Creator has given us the intelligence to solve our problems and to deal with our own things ourselves. It is our responsibility, which is why the cardinal rule of Marcus Garvey is self-reliance. It is within our hands. And remember, it is no accident we have the term disseminate. In the Roman army, any soldiers who went and were defeated because of cowardice, the penalty for those who ran back home defeated, as an example, is that every 10 soldiers was killed. Decimal, every 10. That's how you get dissemination. The military genius, Shaka, of the Amazulu, on the battlefield, the instructions were that any Zulu soldier who tried to turn back must be killed by the one behind him. In other words, we are engaged in a serious life and death struggle for our race. Africa is not ours by any divine providence. If we do not assemble the necessary unity politically, militarily, and economically, as Marcus Garvey said, power is the only argument that satisfies man. Only argument that satisfies man. We will lose Africa and we will be exterminated as a race. Africa will only be ours. Jamaica will only be ours if we prevent others. Trinidad will only be ours. Will only be ours if we take the necessary steps that make them ours. And we are engaged. One of the problems with our people is that our people do not realize, most of our people, I'm telling you, most of the African race, whether in Africa and outside of Africa, are not aware that we are engaged in a war. We are at war. If you say to most of our people, they say, what war? Because they think that war simply means on some so-called battlefield shooting and stabbing. No, war is on many different fronts. War is in the classrooms. War is at the job. War is in everything. That's why you notice I keep saying various areas of life activity. And you notice in my speech, I kept moving from area to area because it is everything in life which is involved No part of it is exempt. Every part of it has to be fought. Marcus Garvey said, whenever we hear any negative propaganda against us, we must not be silent. We must always challenge and deal with it. Sometimes we have some people, they hear some people use a negative word where we are concerned. Some of our own people and so on. And I would say, no. And some of our people, not knowing better, would say, no, just leave it. When you leave it, you make the problem become worse. We must not give our enemies any breathing space. You know why? They don't give us any breathing space. And to tell you why you're totally wrong, when you said you're totally wrong, not partially wrong, when you said we're not going anywhere, why do you think our enemies spend so much time, so much resources in trying to distort and tell lies about our Marcus Garvey, about our Black Print solution, and about any moves that we make to better ourselves? They spend enormous sums. They have their think tanks. They have their soldiers, their police, they have their teachers, their nurses, their doctors. They are all of it because they know, they are fully aware that their position that they have can only be guaranteed if we as Africans allow them to have that position. And so this is why whenever they see any of us making moves, they employ physical assassination and character assassination to divorce our very own people against us. So it's a constant war. If what we were doing was of no consequence, they would ignore the things that we do. Take for example, I am not a supporter of Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam. But to give a prime example, they had a meeting by Kennington Park. Louis Farrakhan, with the Rastafari Movement UK, an arrangement was made that he was to broadcast live. The first thing that Lambeth Council, which is European Council, did, was they say, no, none of that, you know. Then they made up some things to say, all right, we'll deal with that. And they thought they had overcome it. 5 o'clock yesterday, when the Nation of Islam turned up at Kennington Park, they got an order. Lambeth Council saying, there must be no pre-recorded playing of Louis Farrakhan. There must be no live recording of Louis Farrakhan. No individual or individuals is allowed to repeat the speech that Louis Farrakhan had done, because what happened, they had sent you the speech, you know, so they knew what was in the speech. And they said that no one is allowed, otherwise legal penalty, just to repeat it. So this is total censorship. The land of so-called democracy, which is a fraud, and freedom of speech. Nonsense. So what I'm saying is that I use that as an example. This is just yesterday, because there are many examples that whenever they see any movement whereby we as a people are willing to do things together and without their control, they clamp down on it. And it is our duty, and this shows you that they know that what we can do. And this is why we as a people must not be disheartened, because the limits of what they can do to us is only if we allow them to do what they are doing. In other words, my brother, we as Africans, we have to keep fighting and inspiring others who are of, you know, I mean, who don't have that faith and so on. But we have to get as many of our people on board, because this is a life and death struggle for our African race, because we are engaged worldwide in a war for our survival as the African race on planet Earth. Because if we do not see about our own interests, I am telling you seriously, we will become extinct. But I am of the confidence and I am of the belief that we have enough Africans in every generation and in this generation who will continue that fight, and that we will achieve victory, because I do not have any defeatist mentality in me at all. And I absolutely reject any defeatist mentality from any individual and from any quarter, unequivocally.
I want to say one thing.
Yes.
Mandingo.
Yes.
What they did, you know, the event was on the Saturday.
Yes, yesterday.
So we were there we went there Friday night. There were a lot of people setting up. Plus, I don't know if there was some deal done with the council. They actually were putting up some marquees.
Yes.
Friday night. So
yes.
we were there at 9 o'clock on Friday. We got a call on Saturday saying that they'd come and taken everything down. So the people who had gone there to their stores, that they had nothing. Even from here, they prepared to bring some tables and bits and pieces. So that was the first sabotage. And now you just told us about the second one, which is at 5.
Yes.
He was supposed to speak, and then they said no, he can't. And, right, okay.
And
no
one is allowed to repeat.
And not only that, but
say what he said.
Still went on. Whether they, obviously, I think maybe they intended for maybe 1,500 people. They still got maybe 600-700. After, despite all of the sabotage. So it's a partial success, really.
Exactly. What it goes to show is that we have no alternative but to fight. There's no alternative. We have to fight, because this is, I repeat again, this is a life and death struggle for our African race. There have been other races of people on planet Earth who are no longer here. I, for myself, Mandingo, I have no intention to contribute to the demise or the extinction of my African race. Yes, Mama.
Just to finish off on the point you're making, is that the growth is consciousness of black people.
Of African people, listen. African people.
Of African people.
Yes.
That is growth that everyone can see around them. You just have to look.
Here in Britain. So you know when he does what the British say. Because he depends on them for his health. He has no interest in the health situation of people in Nigeria. But one of the things that we must do is that we must establish medical centers, hospitals of the highest order in our countries. That is absolutely essential. Because if we do not have that to deal with the health problems of our people, of all ages, that's another way in which we will suffer and be killed off. Remember, we are dealing with some racist people who in the past, Tuskegee, injected our people with syphilis. Look what they did to the native people in the States, put smallpox in the blankets. We're dealing with some vicious, even people, and listen, not because a person is a doctor. Remember, a doctor, being a doctor is just a profession, just like being a civil engineer, just like being an accountant and so on. But it doesn't tell you about the mentality of the person. Remember, some of the biggest murderers are doctors. You remember this one who killed several hundred people? What was his name again?
Shipman.
Shipman. You know it is racism why he kills so many of his people? Why does Mandingo say that it is racism? Why Harold Shipman killed so many of his people? You know, if it was a case that an African doctor, that 2 or 3 of their European patients died, he would have been investigated and so on. But they could not believe in their own racism that one of their own could be doing that. Yes, my brother. You know, I'm glad to see my brother JB, a man who has been in the music business, one of the pioneers, you know, with the sound system and record shops in this country, my brother JB from Brixton. And give thanks, my brother. And we will talk because your story has to be written, and I'll assist you as I said.
Yes, brother.
Because as Garvey said, only we can tell our story.
Yes, I'm with you almost 100% on the excellent story that you told. I have one or two questions.
Yes.
Starting with the, I entirely agree that we should get rid of the Queen in Jamaica. But we mustn't tell our people that republic will necessarily change anything.
No, not in and of itself, because exactly. there is more to it, because what happens, that's why I'm saying, what we have to do, when I say republic, that's part of the thing of getting away from that kind of mental slavery and so on. But in place, we have to institutionalize the Black Print solution of Marcus Garvey, which are things for the benefit of the majority of our people and not the minority, and in all areas of life. So this is why I say that has to be in tandem with the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey, that I say that has to be in the school system.
Because most of the neo-colonies now, they have presidents. You don't stop them being fantastically oppressive. So it's not about right. You take rid of the Queen, and I'm in favour of that, absolutely. But the transformation still has to come, and the presidencies don't represent
in and of itself. Which is why I have underscored at every stage the Black Print solution of Marcus Garvey, which is a solution for the people. Because as Marcus Garvey said in this, government is for the people. So it must be the people who must determine what government is. This is not for a few politicians and so on. It is for what is for us as the people. Because government, as Marcus Garvey said in this philosophy and opinions, must be an expression of the will of the people.
Right. And I have two other questions. Specifically related to Jamaican history and Garveyism within that.
Yes.
I was a little boy in Jamaica in the late 60s, late 50s. I left there in 61.
Yes.
And I remember the Miller-Johnson intervention.
Yes.
And what I think happened, you're right about them being banned from the process in independence. But one of the things that I haven't seen anybody treat is that they had a very big impact and influence on the referendum, right? That party, along with the PNP and the JLP, came to the little town in which I was living. And the most powerful meetings were actually a combination of Rastafari inside of that Miller-Johnson party. And so I think that to some extent it squandered its impact in the referendum. And I'm not sure if the resources were there for the following general election, but they had a real impact. It seems to me people don't understand that they played a big part in the no vote, because they argued against the federation. Right. So that's my first point, or first question, comment. You talk about, and it's true, that the PNP and JLP took the place of the PPP.
Yeah, the People's Political Party.
But it's important to talk about what actually happened in that transformation, because enough Garveyites were around, but yes. Marcus Garvey left Jamaica in 34, 35.
Yes.
And the
35,
and the party was in effect not what it was. It certainly wasn't in 35 what it was in 29.
Yes, yes.
And the voting business wasn't in place either, the right to vote until...
Yes, until 1944, which was 4 years after.
So that late 30s transformation, Garvey wasn't in at all. In 37, Garvey visited the Caribbean and didn't come to Jamaica. Because he said so, I think he said so, shaking the dust of Jamaica.
What happened is that Garvey never gave up on Jamaica, because, for example, in Frome, when the workers revolted and so on, he sent messages of support and that type of thing.
Yeah.
What happened is that, and this is something that must be understood, because liars have told lies about this. Marcus Garvey came here not in a permanent thing. It was a strategic move, because what was happening was in a situation in Jamaica where he was under attack.
Yes.
And the organization seized the buildings, Liberty Hall and 76 King Street, etc. on matter of tax. And Jamaica, in terms of communicating with the rest of the African world, it was not able, the facilities were not there to be able to think.
Agreed.
So it was a strategic move to come here, but it was not on a permanent basis, because remember that Marcus Garvey was a man who was always traveling. When he was here, many times he visited Canada, which was why members of the UNI and ACL were able to come, including President General James, across and so on. And up to the time that he passed, they were working on getting the ban overturned for him to be able to come back to the States. So what Garvey was doing was the second best place in terms of operating, because the UNI and ACL is an international movement, is that here, London, was in terms of communication far better than Kingston, Jamaica. And he would have more room to maneuver in terms of certain political and that type of thing that he was not able to do in Jamaica. So he never gave up on Jamaica, and this is something that his wife, Amy Garvey, was sure to tell me over and over again, because she knew about that kind of lie that Marcus Garvey gave up on Jamaica. No, he never did. And of course, Marcus Garvey Jr., her son, was taught the same thing. Never ever gave up on Jamaica. It was a strategic move at the time.
I agree with the strategic move point, but I think the extent to which he was under pressure in Jamaica,
overwhelming pressure,
I know, mattered, and I think the fact that he had a 37 trip to the Caribbean that didn't include Jamaica is an inlet. But my final point, I don't know the conversation, that late 30s transformation, when there were all these labor revolts and stuff.
Yes.
Garveyites were around,
yes.
But the dynamic of what was happening politically and economically shifted away from Garvey, and the space was made for the misleaders like Alexander Bustamante and Manley.
And yes.
Because...
And then of course you had sellouts from the UNI and ACL, like St. William Grant,